Cue that beat.
This is what happens. You guys just hear something Eagles, and then it's like a dog who sees a squirrel.
I would say 75% of all NFL quarterbacks can be dialed down to different flavors of Kirk Cousins. They're all just Kirk Cousins. All of them.
So there's conditions. No, I absolutely understand do not draft list. If someone's on my do not draft list, I'm not drafting him.
Hey guys, welcome into the Mind the Gap podcast. Aaron Palsgrove, Tyler Hill, Ryan Wright. We have a good show today. I say that every week, but I mean it this week. We have Combine Preview. It's time. The NFL Combine starts Wednesday for kickers and punters, Thursday for the rest of the group that actually matters. And we're going to break down what we're looking for in each prospects, what we want to see from specific prospects, and just what the Combine is in general. Because if you're listening to this podcast or watching us on YouTube, thank you, first off. But second, if you're watching this, you understand what the Combine is. You're here for draft coverage. But the Combine's gotten really weird in recent years because, like, Xavier Worthy broke the 40 time. Did it even matter? There are negative trends, like negative correlations with bench press and 40 time on if a player is good or not. Does the Combine even matter? So let's start there before we get to things that we actually truly want to see from some of these players. Measurements, interviews, just scuttlebutt. On-field performances. Tyler, does the Combine matter?
Yes, just not a ton. It factors in the evaluation. Again, we talked about how specifically with edges, your relative athletic score, or your RAS, is huge in determining whether you can be that top end level of a pass rusher. It really works for corners as well, wide receivers. There's some position that it's not as good for, right? Quarterback is one of those, but overall, it is cool to see these guys perform at the highest level. You do get to see some of their athleticism, and you can pick out specific parts of the 40-yard dash, right? The 10-yard split, the 3-cone, the L drill, although a lot of people didn't do that last year. So there are genuinely some things I think you can take away from it. It's just probably 5 to 10% maybe of the player evaluation.
See, that's interesting. And I guess that is really a point of view thing, because when I think of the NFL Combine, yes, I'm looking for some specific things like the 40 time, see how fast you are. But I also think it is used to find the red flags in a player. You have the interview process. This is really one of the first times you get to be face-to-face with the athletes. You get their vibe, you get their demeanor, you get their character, and all those things can go into factor. I mean, we saw Jalen Carter slide to the Eagles in the draft when Chicago had the pick. You see the character issues, it can cause a player to slide. So that was just an example of a player sliding because of character concerns. But beyond that, medicals. We don't get to see that unless a verified report comes out that we can report on. So all that shenanigans gets factored in here at the Combine.
Yeah, I think it's crazy how the job fair, basically, it's a job fair for NFL prospects, has become this nationally televised event where a player would just, the reason for it, the main reason is medicals. It's medicals. It's to make sure that there's nothing being hidden by these players on their chart, right? The medical chart, like a nurse's chart. There's nothing being hidden. Is Kelvin Banks okay? Is his ACL actually intact? I don't know that. I just picked a name, by the way. I don't know anything about Kelvin Banks medical. But like the idea being all these guys go to the NFL doctors, the team's doctors there at the Combine in Indianapolis, and while they're there, they're like, hey, you should talk to the media. Hey, you should talk to our owner. Talk to them for 15, 20 minutes. Oh, hey, you're still here? Maybe just run a few drills. Like the 40-yard dash that everyone thinks is irrelevant now. It's just an odd prospect, and now players are opting out of it. Shadur Sanders recently opted out of on-field drills, which Ryan disagrees with. Yeah.
Dude, if you're the consensus 2, possibly 3 quarterback, and you're looking to get drafted high, you should throw. I understand Cam Ward, if he decided not to throw, possibly, but Shadur, he should throw.
But he's a lock for being a top 6 pick. So why would he throw?
I would not consider him a lock.
Really? Okay. But in every mock that we've done, he's gone. Actually, didn't he? He fell in our first mock draft, didn't he? But in every mock out there, he's going either 3 to the Giants or what team, or 6 to the Raiders. He doesn't fall past the Raiders. Do you realistically think there's a chance he falls past 6? Like, give me a percentage pie. What are the odds he falls past 6?
I won't give you a percentage pie, but I will say I've read that Tom Brady has more of a say than Mark Davis now. And if Tom Brady's
I
running
agree.
the show, Tom Brady's going to get the quarterback that he wants, whether it's this year or next year. Whether it's Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, I don't know who that is. And I will put that out there. I do not know who it is. But I do not think Shedeur Sanders is worthy of the number 6 overall pick.
Great. I didn't ask you if you think he's worthy. We know you don't think he's worthy. We know he's your QB3. That said, do you think he falls past 6? Realistically, draft night. Think draft night. Think NFL draft. Do you think he's falling past 6? Yes or no?
That's hard because we see
Dude.
the Rams situation. I'm thinking of a team possibly trading up. I don't think the Raiders will grab a quarterback this year. I know it's hard to think like that. The only reason I could see the Raiders picking a quarterback is because Pete Carroll is so old. He probably has like 4 years max. So they probably want a quarterback right now. But I could also justify a bridge quarterback like Sam Darnold. That would be much cheaper than what Matthew Stafford's asking for.
New coach, new GM, new quarterback, right? They need one. They can't go into another season with Aiden O'Connell. They need to either draft one or sign one.
They can.
No, they can't.
You saw how far Jaden Daniels took the Commanders? Why can't we get Why can't they get a quarterback next year that'll carry them to the playoffs with the team?
Because it's the NFL. NFL teams don't tank like that. They don't wait another year when they're in a prime position to take one at 6 if he falls. I'm back to Shedeur. Do you really think Shedeur is going past 6? Yes or no?
I would want to wait to see his pro day. There are so many questions marks with Shedeur.
It's like pulling hairs with you.
Tell me why he should go number 6.
I'm not saying he should. I'm saying, do you think he will? Because I don't make decisions in an NFL front office, but I'm saying NFL front offices make harebrained decisions like taking quarterbacks 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10. Like Bo Nix went 10. I wouldn't have taken Bo Nix at 10. I would have been proven wrong.
Whether he will or he won't, but I'm saying that he should not.
Okay, I think he will. I think he will, because that's how the NFL works. That's how the quarterback market works. So if you're Shedeur's agent saying, hey, you're going to either be drafted 2 to the Browns, probably not because Deion said no, 3 to the Giants, or at the latest 6 to the Raiders, you don't need to throw because you are a top 5, 6 pick lock. I don't think you need to throw. You go there, you do the interviews, you prove you're your own kid, you're not Deion's son, but you don't need to throw and get shown, like, the possibility of getting embarrassed at the combine is real. It's happened. Players' stock will plummet if they get shown that they're not good enough. Tyler, am I taking crazy pills here?
No, for me, it just doesn't matter. Like, I don't care if he throws at the combine or not. He has 4 years of college tape where he's thrown the football, and we've already seen that his arm is not the best. Me watching him throw in shorts at the combine just isn't going to change that either bad or good. I think he has a 7 out of 10 arm. Whether he goes out and throws at the combine was not going to change whether I think he has a 7 out of 10 arm. And so I don't see the positive. And then this is just something that happens. Like, people opt out of the combine that are probably going to be top 10 picks. I was thinking back to last year, dude, if you want a list of people who opted out of the combine, Drake May, Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Joe Alt, like the list can go on and on. If I'm remembering correctly, I think, and I'm not completely sure on this, I think every top 10 pick in last year's draft opted out of the combine, except Penix. Actually, I think Penix threw. Because he was at 8.
But we also no one expected Penix to go that early either.
Right, and so I probably should have said projected, but I mean, you get my point, right?
Right.
The people that were going to be high draft picks didn't perform at the combine. That's just kind of how it works now. And so for me, I just don't care.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's interesting, especially with like combine tests are interesting. There's a bunch of different tests. I'm not going to rename them all because I don't remember them all. But obviously, there's the 40-yard dash. There's quarterback throwing and passing drills with receivers and corners. There is the shuttle cone, 3-cone, bench press, high jump, long jump.
And then the position specific drills as
right,
well.
Right. Position. Yeah, that's I don't like that. Drills that are specific to their position. I don't remember who it was at Fantasy Points, but they had an article come out recently talking about the negative correlation between certain positions, like 40-yard dash. The faster you are at the 40-yard dash, the fastest of the bunch, the less likely you are to succeed at the NFL level. I'm not talking like it matters at some positions. Like I think edge rusher, it's going to correlate where it matters, right? But it also matters according to your weight. Just the lowest number possible isn't always the best thing. Look at John Ross, who flamed out of the league. Xavier Worthy had a good year for the Chiefs, but I don't think he's
a gadget guy.
He's a gadget. Thank you. Also, like bench press for tackles. No one cares. Because if you are successfully benching, that means your arms are not long enough to be a tackle. Like, these drills are not some end-all, be-all that should define where a player goes on a certain big board. And I don't blame Shedeur for sitting out. I don't blame other players for sitting out. But it is still an interesting conversation for a bunch of other prospects. There are prospects where it is effective, and there are prospects where it is absolutely irrelevant. The Combine is such an interesting beast, dude. I don't understand why they're still doing it the way that it is. But I guess because we're doing shows like this.
It's also cool for the guys that are from smaller schools. It puts their name out there. And then once they get media recognition, people start going to the film and be like, all right, does this guy really have something in him?
Right. That's like that Quinion Mitchell at the Senior Bowl thing where he completely blew up at the Senior Bowl. Then at the Combine, he just capitalized on that by having a good showing. Quinion Mitchell really rose through the ranks and then went 127 to the Eagles in the last year's draft? Or no,
22, I think.
22? Yeah, you're right. So,
and it does answer some questions, both in the measurements, like there are guys we right now don't have arm links on or confirmed weights, heights, whatever, hand size. That is something that you do get from the Combine and is super valuable. And then we'll talk about it, but there are some specific skills that through film I still have question marks about. So whether it's long speed, change of direction with a 3-cone, and then some of the position specific drills,
10-yard splits with like tackles and stuff,
right, for explosion. So there are things that it's still valuable for. Again, it's not the end all be all. I personally factor it in about 5 or 10%, but it can answer some questions. So there's still value in it.
Right. I think a tackle, a big guy, showing how fast he can move, that means something, right? And it'll make it. Even if we don't want it to, it'll make them rise up our rankings because it's like, oh, big man move fast. Whoa. But yeah, you're right. I shouldn't completely undervalue the Combine. There are certain prospects and certain players where one drill could just change their whole life, and it could really help them. So, are we ready to get to some players where we are looking for who and what we're looking for from certain players?
Let's do it.
Tyler, lead us off. Who do you have? Let's talk quarterbacks because that's the most important position in sports. There's a lot of quarterbacks invited. I'm not sure how many are going. Is there any specific quarterback you're like, I want to see him run the 40?
Jalen Milroe.
I was going to say, if Jalen Milroe is going to run, that's going to be a lot of fun.
It's
for
going to be
sure.
Fun. Yeah.
So that would be a cool one to watch. I'm scrolling through it. Really, no.
I'd love to see Ward run the 40. Not for any like prospect reason, just because like I want to see it,
Just why not? The one I wrote down is I think it would be cool to see Cam throw just because he can do some nutty stuff with arm angles, getting the ball out, stuff like that, really snappy release. So that'd be fun to watch.
Yeah.
But honestly, when it's the quarterback position right now for me, it's nothing's really going to move me.
No, I think since we did that quarterback episode, nothing has moved for us. It's been very.
Dude, did you see? Okay, I'm sorry to derail this, but bro, did you guys see the Tyler Shuck first round hype on Twitter?
I did. Out of the Louisville guy, yeah.
Yeah, the guy I was like, man, sleeper.
Who had that?
Fourth round pick.
Who? There was one pundit leading
I think it was
that.
Rookie Watch.
Was it rookie? No, there was an actual guy leading that. Was it?
Was some
Was it
random
Yates?
Joe NFL, I think. No. I know that Greg Cosell said he was the QB2 in the class.
Yates was watching somebody recently, and he was tweeting about him.
That's
He
what's
might have said it
hard.
too.
Beyond the top two guys, Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, possibly Genty, if you want to throw him in there, I don't think there's any consensus on this year.
No, this year is so tight because there is not a ton of high end talent. There are a lot of guys that will be, I think, really good starters. And so when you have a lot of guys that are bunched up around grade wise 6'5", 6'4", 6'3", 6.5, 6.4, 6.3, which are all, going to be a good starter, maybe Pro Bowl level type players. And so because everyone's bunched up like that, there's just not a lot of differentiation. And so when you go from a big board, you've seen this in our big boards, actually, now that I say that, but even when you go from Field Yates to Daniel Jeremiah to Daniel Kelly to Mel Kiper, it's all over the map, both positionally and overall big board.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on from quarterbacks, right? Because there's nothing here. I mean, Riley Leonard could run the 40. That'd be fun. Running backs. There's a lot of running backs having been invited. The name that immediately, for me, jumps off is Cam Scatabo. Because I do think that the 40 time could really make or break his draft. He's one of the few players where it could really matter because he was that at Arizona State, the running back, lunch pail guy. He's the one that threw up on the sidelines after having a massive drive at Arizona State, carried them through that CFP game. He is known as being slow. If he runs fast, that matters. Is there anything else to that, really? Because I feel like he could really help his stock by just running quickly and showing that he slimmed down a little bit.
I don't know how much I'm actually going to get from the combine for Scatabo, but I will say that two I'm specifically looking at, I don't know what to do with Henderson and Judkins from Ohio State. And I think it's a 1A, 1B type situation. And I think this is our last chance to see which one's ahead of the other.
I think it's Henderson. I went on a pod, I think, after...
Yeah, I think it's Judkins.
I think it was after the CFP where I talked about how awesome Judkins was. And the more I watched, the more I realized I was very wrong on that pod. It's still up. You can still go listen to it. I just think I was crazy, and I was wrong. I compared Judkins to Jahmyr Gibbs when I should have been comparing Henderson to Jahmyr Gibbs.
I was you hit Gibbs after Judkins got hawked down when he had like he had a 10-yard gap, got hawked down. I was like, I don't know.
I think I may have been mixing them up. I want to give to my own credit. I think I may have mistaken them for each other on one or two plays. But yeah, no, I think Henderson's the clear 1A there. I would say it's actually a 1-2 more than 1A, 1B. He has explosive ability, and he could be a number one running back in the league. I genuinely would believe that. I think he's my RB 3
I
or
think
4.
there's a few starters. There's certainly a few starters.
Yeah.
And I would not put it past us to see like 15 running backs in the first 3 rounds. Maybe that might be a little high.
That's a little
12.
high. Okay.
12 would be fair. And there's so much talent. Like
12 running backs, first 3 rounds.
Running upwards. Yeah, dude.
Genty, Johnson, Judkins, frickin' Scatabo, Trevor Etienne.
How high do you think Scatabo goes? Just
I
right
think
now.
I think latest he goes third or fourth. He's a day 2 guy,
Yeah.
I think.
I think that's fair.
I think Tyler? Am I crazy for that?
No, I think he's third, fourth right now, unless he does run well, because that's the one thing is the long speed question. He doesn't break off 60-yard runs on tape. So if you see, maybe that was just a product of the scheme, but he runs a 4.48. Okay, then that's something that can make him jump for sure.
Yeah. If he runs anything under, I think if he runs like a 4.8 or under, or a 4.7 or under, he's just falling. I think it could really help or just hurt his draft stock based on how he runs. Is there anyone else in this? Go ahead.
Well, Henderson's going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah.
His 40 time is going to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the agility stuff for him will be really good. So that's fun. I'm sad that Genty's not participating in the combine.
He's not?
Yeah, he just said that he wasn't today.
Ah, I didn't know
And
that.
Carter's hurt too.
Carter is hurt. He got hurt in the playoff game.
So to the top dog.
Yeah. By the way, that injury is very real, and everyone listening to that and NFL team should let him fall and should not consider not drafting him because it is very real.
Yeah, except
Clippers.
at 19. He should probably fall all the way to 19, is what I'm thinking.
Hey, if he falls to freaking 9, Eagles are trading up.
Well, maybe.
There's no way he falls.
Yeah.
No, there's no way he falls.
Not in a million years.
He's too good. It does suck though that the two blue chip generational athletes that we have at 1, 3, or 1 and 4, depending on where you have Genty, neither of them are participating. That's what irks me about the combine is the guys you want to see, the big ticket items, just don't. And I don't blame them, but man, it sucks.
Well, you can still pay to go and watch the press conferences.
Yeah. But I want to watch him run.
Fair enough.
Running's
I
fast.
don't blame you.
Yeah.
Other guy that I think is going to perform really well is Amarion Hampton, running back for North Carolina. There's rumors he's going to be in the low 4.4s, which at 220, that would be flying.
Mm-hmm.
And with how physical that he runs, that's something that I think gets him back in that RB2 conversation. I think he's still there, but just consensus-wise, he's fallen out a little bit. A lot of people like Henderson more. At least that I've seen, a lot of people like Henderson as RB2. Caleb Johnson has gotten a ton of love, the running back out of Iowa. Rightly so. Both good players.
I love Caleb with a K. That's just, I love it. Feels very football, you know? Sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to.
No, you're good. I haven't deep dived any of those guys yet, other than just watching them during the college season. But
right.
I think that's, for me at this point, the three of who's fighting for RB2 is Henderson, Johnson, and Hampton. I think Hampton and Henderson will come out with really good combine numbers.
I mean, we could hit a running back and wide receivers after the combine.
Yeah, so, I mean, if anyone's listening and you know how we did our wide receiver deep dive, we did our edge rusher deep dive and quarterback deep dive. Later, I think Thursday, we are going to record our offensive line deep dive. Let us know what you want to hear next. I'll put a poll in Spotify. You can talk to us on Twitter, just at Aaron Palsgrove, at Wright Takes, or you're just at Ryan Wright, right?
Right takes.
Wright Takes? At Wright Takes, at Tyler Hill, or is it T_Hill_5?
Well, let me look because I know I've messed with it.
But
so
find
it's
us
Tyler_Hill5.
Got it. Okay. Find us on Twitter. Let us know what do you want to hear next. Whether that for positions, do you want to hear receivers, corners, safeties, etc., or just comment on the YouTube video because we're on YouTube. Check us out. Find us. Reach out. We want to hear from you. So we're doing tackles Thursday. Let us know what you want to hear next. If and nothing, probably we'll do
And
running backs.
guards, all O-line.
What was that?
And guards, all the O-line.
Right. My bad. I forget that guards exist. Wide receivers at the combine. Has anyone said they're out of this before I start spouting off how awesome it's going to be to watch some guys run?
Oh, dude, I can't wait. I'm not even can't wait. I'm ecstatic to watch Jalen Royals and just to prove to you guys that he is the real deal. So one of his best characteristic traits is contested catches. So I'm really hoping he gets like a flashy clip from a bad throw and it gets posted all over YouTube, all over social media, and he gets the love he deserves. Now, I still hope he falls to me in the fantasy drafts that I'm in, but I don't want to show all my cards yet. But Jalen Rose, dude, he's a little undersized. I think he was like just under 6 foot at the Senior Bowl. I think he was like 5'11". Dude can fly. He's just one of those guys you want on your team. He's competitive. He just has that dog in him, to put it simply. And, oh, boy. Sorry.
Do you think
Jalen Royals Glazer over here.
What do you think? Do you think the 40 time matters for his game? You said he's a contested catch receiver, right? He's a route runner. Does the 40 time matter?
I think yes. If he's in like 4.6s, I'm concerned. but reasonably put, I think he's like 4.5, 4.4. He's explosive out of the break, and that's where he gets guys is out of the break. He's yeah. I think I answered that question.
Okay.
4.5, 4.4 would be what I would expect out of him. He's not a blazing speed guy, but he can take the top off of defense if need be.
I'm excited to watch just our top three receivers, which would be Igbuka, Burden, and McMillan. I don't know if McMillan will compete. I assume he will because he's not a lock for. I don't think any of the receivers are really a lock for a first round except for maybe Tet, but I don't think he's a lock for like top 10 or anything. So I'm assuming he'll compete. Igbuka has kind of been like slept on, I feel like, in a lot of our rankings and a lot of other like consensus boards because he's not touted as this elite athlete, this like capital E elite athlete. I feel like if he could really prove some doubters wrong by having a really good showing at the combine with height, weight, speed. Same with Luther Burden. I think if Luther Burden runs like a 4.4 or like a 4.41 or something crazy, it could really, and at the weight that he is, that could really help his case as well. Tet, I just want to see him prove to me. I watched his tape, so I'm not going to say that like this is really going to change my opinion on him. But I want to just see some blazing speed. I just want to see him run. I do think 40 matters more for receiver than other positions, but I don't want, again, there is a negative correlation. The best receivers tend to not be super fast. So if McMillan doesn't have a super fast speed, maybe that bodes better for him than I thought.
I'm trying to find the statistic. I'm looking for yards after the catch. Tyler probably knows it off the top of his head because he's a wizard. But Igbuka and Burden were near the top of the charts, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Burden was number 1. Igbuka was...
What a boy.
I don't think... He was pretty close. I don't think he was 2 just because he didn't have the volume since they had Smith and some other guys on that team as well. But when you're talking about Igbuka, I think people are underestimating his speed as well.
Right.
When he was in high school, he ran a 4.4 laser at the
gosh.
Adidas All-American Combine. So he's gotten bigger since then. I think he's added 15 pounds in college. So it might not be exactly the same, but I do think he's going to fall in that 4.4 range, which is great for him.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see it. I think receivers, there's a lot of good receivers, and there are a lot of good receivers in being invited. Tez Johnson, another guy. I think measurements and weight matters more for Johnson than anything else at the combine. He is like, I think he's actually a massive riser or faller. Is he actually the same weight as my right leg? Or is he 160 pounds or something like that? Because I need, he can't be 5'11", 150.
Yeah, the 156 is just, it's so brutal.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't trust that, right?
That's right.
You'll
That's
have to
another
trust
thing.
him if you can't touch him.
That's another thing the combine's good for is it gives us universal
Maybe, but Tank
measurements.
Dell has been hurt both years of his career, and a lot of small receivers have flamed out. It's pretty much only Deshaun Jackson is in the 160s and has played a career that has mattered. So shout out Eagles, but historically it is real tough.
Another thing the combine is really good for is it gives us universal measurements, which I talked about on a past episode. But like, is Shedeur Sanders really 6'1"? Maybe. Is he actually 5'10"? Maybe. You never know, because the colleges have a reason. They have like, they could just pump up a guy's weight or height because I feel like it. Colleges have no universal you can't trust them. You can't trust them 100%. The Senior Bowl is really good for that, but the Combine is the best. The Combine is a doctor's office with also a football field. So getting universal height and weight is really going to matter. And we're going to start getting that, Thursday? It's going to start rolling in?
Yeah, I think that's right. Just as prospects get in and start going through everything.
Yeah.
Which I think there's a couple guys that's going to matter for. First and foremost for me is Will Campbell and his arm length. I don't mind if it is less than 33. I still think he could play tackle because he makes up for it in other ways. We'll talk about that on Thursday. Tune into the offensive line episode. But it would be nice if he had 33.5-inch arms. That would
Is 33 your threshold for a tackle to be switched between tackle and guard?
The scouting rule of thumb is 33 is normally the floor. 34 or more is the ideal. And it's not that if somebody has less than 34-inch arms, you have to kick them down to guard. Again, I don't think you have to do that with Campbell. But again, if he has 33.5-inch arms, that would be cool because I think then for sure you could keep him at tackle.
Right. Is there any? You said you had a few more names.
Well, I'm trying to think if I had any more of the height weight stuff, and I don't think I do. We talked about Tez. If he can be, even if he can be 165, man, just I need something. You cannot be 155 pounds. That's
Right.
crazy.
Who's the lightest ever? I mean, you probably know that
Probably
off the top of
Tank.
your head,
Gosh.
too.
Well,
Probably Tank, right?
Yeah. Well, Tank's 165. I'm trying to think of smaller guys. I mean, jeez. What was Sproles? Sproles was short, but he was thick.
Right. That
Sproles was the tank.
He bounced off people his entire career.
Now I'm gonna Google this because you got me. I'm like, what the? Okay. Oh wow. Wait. The lightest player in NFL history. This is according to Microsoft AI, but is Trendon Holiday, who weighed 159 pounds. So if that is accurate, Tez would be the lightest football player in the NFL in the modern era that we've ever seen.
So, anyways, Tez Johnson, combine matters. That's crazy. All right, let's keep it trucking, though. There's a bunch of other names to get to. Tight ends. I think tight end also matters. Colston Loveland could prove that he is more than just a receiving tight end. He could add some weight to him. Tyler Warren could show out he is a 40. Is there anything... There's a lot of good... This is a good tight end class in general. Gunnar Helm, Colston Loveland, like I just said. Mason Taylor, Tyler Warren. Elijah Arayo out of Miami.
I thought it was is it not Arroyo?
Arroyo. Great. I just mispronounced it. I was waiting for you to correct me.
I thought you had something I didn't.
No.
So
just reading.
One
Gavin
guy
Bartholomew.
I am looking at. That's actually who I was about to say. Gavin Bartholomew.
Sorry.
I watched a little bit of him this past year. Not a ton, but he showed up when it mattered. And that's not a statistic that you can measure or anything, but he's made some big plays. So when we get to tight ends in the future, I'm going to look at him specifically because he could be something. Right now, I think he's being mocked in like the 6th, 7th round even.
Yeah.
But he could rise in the combine. Strength, speed, agility. Again, tight ends literally have to do it all.
Right. But also, first-round tight ends haven't worked out in recent years, if ever, right? Hayden Hurst.
Darnell Washington, don't know if it's just how the Steelers are using him, but Aaron, he was one of my favorite prospects we've ever talked about.
Right. He
just has not panned out.
Yeah, because they never use him. He's their tight end 3, and he comes in to be a freaking extra tackle. Yeah. But we talked about that. We said that's how he could be used.
I know, but it just pains me because
you're not surprised
to see him in the receiving game.
You're not surprised. You're disappointed?
No, well, we all knew he was slow, but I didn't know they just brought him in to be an extra tackle.
It's the Steelers.
Dude, he's 280.
I know.
Go get Jordan Mailata if you want an extra tackle.
Just forget the L in Mailata.
Did I say Mailata?
Yeah. Like Miata, like a car. Mailata. There you go. No, tight end is interesting because, again, but first-round tight ends have an issue of flaming out. Like, Hayden Hurst was a first-round tight end the same year Mark Andrews was drafted, and famously, Andrews replaced Hurst in that Ravens system. Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren, both projected to be near-ish first-rounders. Harold Fannin Jr., one of Tyler's favorites, projected to be a near first-rounder. Is he still one of your favorites, or am I just misassociating your love for him?
No, I like him. He's probably a second-round guy, I would say. I don't think he's going to make it in the first, but I do like him.
Fair enough. But Dalton Kincaid, famously, kind of meh, right? Michael Mayer, kind of whatever. Like, a bunch of these can't-miss tight end first-rounders are just meh. They're just dudes. Like, they're starting caliber, but they could be a tight end, too, on any given team.
A lot of them are being used as blockers. So that is
Kincaid's
one
not.
big I know.
Hurst isn't.
But when we're thinking flashy tight ends, we're thinking receiving tight ends.
Again, Kincaid and Hurst. I think
know,
Colts
those are
Kincaid
two
is
very
not a
good
bad
examples.
player.
No, he's just he's underwhelming, and especially for where they
He's been
took
in the
him.
league 2 years, like maybe I don't know.
Ryan's ready to write off Xavier Legette after 6 months. Like we can't. You're
I'm
giving
ready to write
Kincaid
off
2 years.
Coleman.
Exactly, he's on the same team.
Tight ends usually take a little longer to develop. It's a hard position to play. Genuinely, I'm
That
looking
is
right
very
now.
true.
There's an article on Pro Football Network. I'm trying to find the author before. Well, I'm not going to be able to anyway, but you can check it out. It's how many tight ends have been drafted in round 1 since 2000. There have been 25. It's pretty even.
One every year.
Because you have Brock Bowers, I would say, hit.
Yep.
TJ Hockenson.
I'd say.
TJ Hawkinson's another one. I
hold up. Well, let me argue about Hockenson. He didn't hit on his first team. He hit on his second. So yeah,
Good for Detroit. He played good. You don't think TJ Hockenson was a good player in Detroit?
I think he was an all right player. I don't think he was the top 5 tight end that he is in Minnesota.
Serviceable.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan.
The infamous word.
I'd say he was pretty good. Also, Hawkinson was pre-Jared Goff Lions too. We do have to factor that in. Then there's some misses. Fant, Hurst,
Matthew
OJ
Stafford,
Howard.
one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Just saying.
Well, that is true, but Lions organization very much not that in 2019.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then there's like random guys. For me, I think it's about maybe 40-60 in terms of hits to misses in terms of first-round tight end since 2000. So,
do you guys think Kyle Pitts is a hit?
No.
Okay, I'm glad we're on the same page, Aaron.
Yeah, no.
No, absolutely
that rookie
not.
year he was, and then I'm not really quite sure what happened.
Could we see a Jaden Daniels, Kyle Pitts kind of fall off?
I mean, it's happened before. There have been guys that have had sick rookie seasons and then
CJ Stroud
not performed. I wouldn't bet on it.
No, I wouldn't either. Jaden looked great.
Here we go.
What?
The Stroud slander is crazy, but this is what this episode's about.
Offensive lineman, I think, Tyler, you talk about how this 10-yard split matters for explosiveness. I think it especially matters for offensive tackles, right? Getting off the block, and for tackles and edge rushers, just trench guys in general.
For sure, because you are having to get off explosive and run into a guy that is right in front of you, and you got to be quicker than him at doing that to get leverage and to move them off his spot in the run game, or you got to be really quick out of your stance to get to your spot in the pass game, or beat the tackle in pass protection. So 10-yard split, very good way to track explosiveness with the broad jump in the vertical.
All right, 10-yard split, by the way, is just how quickly do you complete the first 10 yards of the 40-yard dash? How quickly can you get out of that track runner stance, which, by the way, they should not be standing in. They should all be in, like, the position they'd be in on the field. But whatever.
Totally agree with this. Great take.
Yes. Thank you. Have receivers line up as if it's the line of scrimmage. Have tackles line up in their stance. See what happens.
And then
it would change up the numbers.
I would like corners to flip their hips and then run it. I think that would be cool.
That would be really sick. The issue is no one's going to do that.
No, I know. It's never going to happen for sure. But
the issue
would change all the metrics.
Yeah, exactly. It would change all the history.
They would have zero comparison between any of the guys.
Maybe they just create a new
6 spots.
Right. Maybe they would just have a new event called 40-yard dash position specific, 40-yard dash PS, 40-yard dash plus, maybe, and they just run it twice and see what happens.
Well, all jokes aside, they have technology now in the GPS tracking that these guys wear, so you get their miles per hour when they're doing the drills. So they don't know it.
Very fun to watch live.
It is. Shout out NFL Network. They do a good job tracking everything, getting you the different miles per hour, how fast they accelerated, things like that. So I like that a lot. A couple different offensive linemen I think are going to really kill the combine. First and foremost, Josh Connerly, tackle out of Oregon. He, at this point, the guys I watched, he's the best pure athlete of all the tackles. So I think quickness specific stuff, 40-yard dash, he is going to kill the combine. Not sure what his bench is because his play strength is not great on tape, but maybe he's a workout warrior. Who knows? So I think he's going to do really well. The other one I'm looking at is Armand Membu out of Missouri. really athletic guy, fluid mover for his size. So I think he will get in the 9s in the RAS as well.
Yeah. RAS, relative athletic score, by the way, from Kentley Platt. Just want to give credit there where credit is due. Defensive lineman, we got to keep it trucking because we've been here for 40 minutes. Defensive, I think the big one I want to see is the defensive tackles. Guys like Walter Nolan, guys like Jack Sawyer, Nick Scorton. Well, those two are edge rushers, but defensive tackles for me are the big ones. There's a specific name. Michigan. I'm blanking on his name.
Kenneth Grant?
Yes, I want to watch Grant run. He's a big boy, but he's fast and explosive. I want him to run a 4 second.
See, this is interesting because this is where I feel like the combine matters more for some of the top guys than the guys in 3, 4, 5.
You're saying it just edge rusher?
Yeah, because I think James Pierce Jr. doesn't have a ton of upper body strength. Are we going to get an answer there? Mike Green, blazing fast. What else can he do? So, I mean, we saw the one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl. We all saw all the clips, but this is, I feel like, where we finally get the statistical numbers on these guys, and we can compare. So, again, what Tyler said in the very beginning, defensive line, huge for the combine. For wide receivers and running backs, also very huge. For everyone else,
Yeah, and I think I wrote this down when I was going through people who I thought were going to really kill the combine. I said all of our top 5 edges besides James Pierce, which would be Abdul Carter, Mike Green, Shamar Stewart, and Michael Williams. I think all of those guys, which Carter we talked about is not participating, so he would have killed it. All of those guys I think are going to destroy the combine. Mike Green's going to run really fast. His agility stuff's going to be crazy. I think his broad jump will be insane. And then Shamar and Michael's relative athletic score will be through the roof because of how explosive they are, how fast they are, how quick they are for their size. They're going to kill it. And I really do wish Abdul Carter would have, because he would have rivaled Chop Robinson from last year. I think he would have put up better numbers than Chop at similar sizes, and Chop's was just disgusting. It got him in the first round.
Yeah, reminder, Chop, first rounder to the Dolphins, when he was, 5th in voting for Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year? It tracks. It matters. I don't remember how did Verse perform at the combine? Do we know? I'm gonna look that up.
I don't remember. For some reason, I feel like he didn't. Actually, yeah, I take that back. I think he did.
Well, I'm looking that up now because I'm really curious. Why is it not typing? That's very strange.
You're good. I'm pulling it up now to see if he got. Oh, he did. Oh, he did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, so I just pulled it up.
I forgot he ran the 4.58. Yeah. 31 bench press reps. Jeez.
Yeah, gracious. So, actually, I'm just gonna share my screen here so you guys can all see this. This is Jared. This is an RAS score, by the way. If you can see your screen right now, this is what you're looking at. This is the Twitter RAS screenshot. This is the RAS score that Kentley Platt does. Jared Verse has a 5.3 unofficial, right? That's what the U means? 9.53 unofficial. It has arm length, hand size, and then where he ranks on a scale of 1 to 10. He absolutely killed the 40 and the vertical and the broad and the shuttle and the three cone and the bench. So yeah, I kind of forgot that Verse was an absolutely elite athlete at all categories.
Well, I should have remembered it because that was part of when I did the edge rushers, the top 23 of them had a RAS under 9. Obviously he was one that had a RAS over 9.
Right. Yeah. So it really matters for edge rushers specifically more than some of the other specific positions. I'm really struggling with my words tonight, y'all. Is there anybody linebackers secondary that you really want to see
You're just
move?
struggling with the word position.
I know. Position specific.
A lot of S's.
Yeah, it's brutal. It is. Gracious. Linebackers.
Jalon Walker's going to be a fun one to watch.
Yes, he is. I'm very excited to see. I think he's already vaulted for me into my top 10. I'm curious to see if he just cements himself there. It's in pen right now. He's probably. I just want him to take a Sharpie and just write over his name. Just yeah, I'm here.
That's right. That's right.
Oh man, he's so tough for me to wrap my head around. But
Okay.
he's such a good athlete.
He's just a ball player, Ty. You just gotta be excited. Don't stop thinking
but
positionally.
that's what people thought about Isaiah Simmons, and then he sucked.
That is true. That is very true.
Yeah,
I remember that instance.
Because you got to have something. Here's my Jalen Walker thoughts in 30 seconds. Basically, you cannot be even just like you can't just be like okay at both positions. I need you to be really good. He got a lot of sacks and pressures off of being a spy, which he's the best spy in this class. Could be just valuable even just by doing that. I'm worried that he's just kind of going to be a mid linebacker and then be a mid edge rusher. And then at that point, there's not a ton of value there because then I could
he's just a non-specific defensive player at that point.
Yeah. And so that I'm not saying that is what he is because I've watched him kind of tangentially as I've watched Michael Williams and some other guys on that Georgia team. I haven't gotten to just watch him yet. But that is my only fear.
Yeah, that's fair. Other linebackers. Linebacker is a weird one because, again, you could really stand out and prove yourself. I think who had a good... I remember the Lions drafted Jack...
Campbell?
Yeah, Jack Campbell had a good combine a few years ago, and the Lions took him. And that was like, oh, cool. They just took a linebacker. But linebacker's a weird position in this year's draft. I feel like there's no... It's been a weird position for a while now, yeah?
I was going to say, we haven't even gotten the linebackers yet in our positional rankings for the pod, but Jahad Campbell is number 12 on Daniel Jeremiah's big board, and I don't know where you guys have him, but I haven't been able to rank him yet. So, again, that's just goes into we have no idea what the consensus is, if there even is a consensus, because everyone is so all over the board in this class. It's so hard to rank these guys. So you need to take everything you see with a grain of salt until draft day.
I feel like until you see it on the field, week one of real football, you need to take it with a grain of salt.
Even training camp.
Yeah. No, linebackers are weird. Let's move on.
It's just not a great linebacker class this year.
No, it's not the best DB class either. I mean, there are good DBs. Truly good ones. Shavon Revel is a good one. And clearly, Malachi Starks. Obviously, Travis Hunter is elite, right? Top tier blue chip. But it doesn't feel nearly as deep as some of the other classes, especially last year's class with like Quinyon Mitchell, Terry Arnold, Cooper DeJean, guys you can take in the first, second, third round. A lot of whom panned out. There were a lot of good rookie DBs in last year's class.
Yeah, and it's not great at the top of the class. I agree with you, Aaron, but in the middle, there's a good chunk of change right there.
Yeah, Johnny
Will Johnson. You were giving me crap earlier about who the Raiders would take. I genuinely think the Raiders would take Will Johnson over Shedeur Sanders.
Do you take him at 6?
I think so. I think you would. I mean, you have to think. The Raiders had like the worst pass defense in the NFL.
And
what better way than to get Will? Yeah, what better way than to get Will Johnson? I mean, Christian Wilkins was hurt like I think half the year, so yes. But again, there's so many things, so many pieces that they need right there at 6 that they could do anything, and I would not be mad. But again, Morrison, we mocked to Tyler's Buccaneers. Ravel, we've talked about. We've talked about Starks, who's number 4 on my big board still. I don't think that's going to change. I think he's genuinely a blue chip prospect. Some people don't have him that high, but it's all preference. So when we put our big board out here in like a week or two, it's going to be interesting to see how people fall.
Right. I have him top 5 as well. Tyler, where are you on Starks? Because I'm curious to see where he's going to land.
I had him at 7.
7? So he's going to be
big board.
He'll be top 5 on our consensus, basically.
Yeah. This is a fun DB class. One guy, combine specific, I'm looking at, Darian Porter out of Iowa State. He's 6'4", 200 pounds.
Oh
And
my.
the Senior Bowl's GPS technology clocked him at 22 miles an hour. So this guy is big and he can fly.
He's a
Played in
6'4",
complicated.
200.
Mhm.
So he's skin and bones.
That's not even flying. That's blazing.
Yeah.
So he's I think one of the more fun guys. He switched. Oh, excuse me. He's 6'3". So he was 6'4" on the Iowa State website. Senior Bowl measurements have him at 6'2" and a half.
This is why we need official measurements. That's why
Yeah.
the
You're
combine's
always
great.
compensating.
Yeah,
See?
crazy, but still tall, long, big guy, and really, really athletic. He switched from receiver, so he's raw at corner is the best way to put it. But you see the athletic potential.
Could he not
Played-
catch? I mean,
I guess that's probably it, right? So they always say that corners are receivers that couldn't catch.
yeah.
But guy that I think is going to do really good at the combine, and he's not on a lot of people's radars right now. But I
Yeah,
think he will be afterwards, and is a fun guy in the later round. Not later, but later than the first round, second, third. If you want to take a swing on a guy that could be a really, really good zone corner for you for a long time, I think he could be that.
You said, where does he go?
Like his school,
Iowa State.
Ohio State or Iowa State?
Iowa.
Iowa State. Gotcha. Okay. I'm trying to look him up here, and there he is. I was trying to look up the name, and I could not find it on my spreadsheet. I think that wraps up basically everyone that we were looking at. I'm
really curious. I'm sorry, but we haven't talked about anyone falling.
Oh, we talked about Tez, and I think tackles it matters, especially arm length. But tackles can kind of just be like, we talked about guys like Kelvin Banks and how you can just kind of get reassigned. And we'll talk about that more on Thursday when we have those measurements while we're recording our tackle class. Is there anyone rising or falling based on their arm measurements? I think receivers, a slow 40 time for me isn't really that big of a turnoff as it used to be because of guys like Puka Nacua, like Cooper Kupp. I'm just going to start naming Rams here. I mean, guys who can just fly on the field but can't really, they're not workout warriors, like to use the term Tyler used earlier. I don't think it matters as much for receivers. I think the big one is edge rushers. Like the guys like Shamar Stewart who are raw athletic freaks. If they're not actually athletic freaks like Jared Verse that we looked at, are they warranted to be taken that high as we had them?
Yeah. One player specifically I have in mind is Tyleik Williams. I mean, he was on that Ohio State D-line. Again, could have easily been overshadowed by every other talent on that defense. But he's just one guy that I'm like, I really don't know where to put you. And if you don't have a great showing at the combine, you're probably going to fall a little bit. So it's just part of being on a very talented defense. You don't really get a chance to shine. But this is his chance to make a name for himself. And if he doesn't do that, then he very well could fall.
Something always that has been crazy to me about like those talented Georgia fronts, right? Georgia's had a great defense for the last like 7, 8, 9 years. And it's crazy to me that we can look at that defense and be like, oh yeah, all these guys shine. Except for maybe Mike Hill this year who got overshadowed by Walker. Maybe a little bit. But Tyler, is there anyone else that you think could fall, like Ryan said?
Some of the medical guys I thought about is a big rise fall delta. Josh Simmons, if he is cleared, hey, he's going to be able to play starting this year, be there for training camp, OTAs, whatever. That's huge because right now he's going kind of later first in those 20s usually in most mock drafts. He's got the best just pure tape in this class from the tackle class. If he is cleared medically, I think he starts jumping up. A lot of people are waiting for that combine medical. We talked about Shavon Ravel did not get to play much of this 2024 season because of a torn ACL. Got some stuff done at the Shrine Bowl, but combine, I think if you can double down there, should be good. So those are two guys in the medical realm that I think this is big for them in terms of rising and falling.
Yeah, I agree. I think Carter is another interesting one because he's, again, injured for this. So I'm curious to know the extent of his injury and if teams are concerned about that. That could be the difference between him going 2 or going 3, right? Depending on what a team thinks. But it shouldn't be anything serious, I don't think. Combine starts Thursday. It should be a good time. I'll be sitting at home watching it. Thank you all for listening. I think we're going to get out of here because we got to get prepped for tackles on Thursday and guards and Donovan Jackson. I apologize, Ryan. Tackles and guards, offensive linemen on Thursday. And then 1 week from Thursday, consensus top 50. I'm excited. It should be fun. We'll reveal our full top 50, the three of us working on it together. It's going to be great. Thank you all for listening. Mind the gap on your way out.